Hello, Denton. Thank you for joining us today on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie. That's me. And I want to introduce my guest today. Today we are going to be interviewing with Joe Duncan, and he is one of our Denton local artists. And thank you so much, Joe, for being on the show today with me.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having
Artist here in Denton, and then we'll go into some other really cool things that you do around
me.
town and share that with everybody here. First of all, tell us how you got into it.
Yeah, sure. I do a lot of art. I don't necessarily always think about myself as an art, like, oh, like an artist. I think because I kind of came up on the design and illustration side of it. So it's not, I'm not necessarily, I think, as integrated maybe into the less sexy kind of art things like comic books and things like that.
Those are cool.
Yeah. So it was just always having an impulse to, sort of replicate what I was seeing, and I would say that's a lot of what got me into newspaper comics. I still to this day don't know if I politics or if I like politics because I was
Because of the
looking at
cartoon.
yeah. But I was just always attracted to visual media for sure.
Okay, so can you actually find?
Yeah, I have done some work. There's a book that I just finished with a guy in Louisville that is called The Zipper Club. It's actually the second one, and it's a children's graphic novel about
Nice.
kids with congenital distributes to those to hospitals in the area and stuff for kids that have
Yeah.
serious childhood diseases and stuff like that. So.
So the kids actually get to see the comic book, and it's
Mhm.
distributed to.
The first one was actually completed by another Texas artist, and then she had a different project when he got ready to do the second one, so I took over for the illustrations. It's the biographical. He has a congenital heart,
Hmm.
so it's sort of this story about being in this camp with other kids that had those sort of
Struggles.
childhood diseases, yeah, and now I guess have something that's relatable to them and
Hmm.
sort of doesn't shy away from confronting the kind of issues that they're dealing with.
Yeah, and puts them in a place of comfort and
Sure.
dealing with that book. I mean, I would imagine that they feel really pretty cool to be, related to like that and just be able to share that with other kids and be
Sure.
excited with them.
Sure. Yeah. It was a lot of children's literature. I feel like is and like condescending might not be the best word, but the intuitiveness of children.
Hmm.
And what I really appreciate about his work is that he really deals with things in the book, The Zipper Club 2. It centers around there's a character whose parents have separated since the last book, and there's a kid that is a friend of theirs that doesn't make it back for the second one. So it's a lot of heavy issues to deal with, but these are issues that these kids are dealing with,
Yes.
and it seems like it's a positive response.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. But it's challenging but rewarding to work on. I like projects that um, maybe look for underserved
Yeah,
populations. So.
definitely. And where can you find these type of comics if you're interested in getting involved into reading that, or maybe we know someone that would benefit from something like that?
Sure.
Where would they find that?
Probably the easiest way is just to Google it.
Okay.
There was a Kickstarter campaign that he did and a website. I don't remember off the top of my head if it's
Okay.
a .com or org, but you can just the Zipper Club.
The Zipper Club.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in something like that, I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
Had no idea about that, so
Oh
that's
yeah,
really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And transitioning into Joe Duncan, the artist, I mean, you are also a Dentonite. So
That's true.
how is it, or tell me,
Yeah, definitely.
because we do have a Denton vibe here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I work for Denton County, so I feel like my art, just through my employment with them, is very civically engaged. I do a lot of stuff for the Denton County Museum content that's based around local history
Oh, nice.
that we tool to the local like state testing,
Hmm.
teak testing. I
Hmm.
don't think I think they call it something else now,
Hmm.
but that just changed. And they so that's a lot of I feel like my Denton art specific is that. So when I'm out of work, I'm not always necessarily making work specifically about Denton because I make a lot in work. But I'm also in my first
Oh,
Denton.
nice.
So that's a in recent years, I'm about 5 years into living in Denton now,
Hmm.
and I felt like I'm kind of getting to the point where I feel like a local person and a
Yeah.
resident, and I've
Yes.
tried to package
Involved.
with my art.
Yeah, so that's a big deal when you finally feel like I'm an actual Dentonite
Right,
here.
right,
And
right.
and I felt it too. I've been here 12 years, so I definitely can relate to that. So, are you across the street here at the, okay.
Yeah, office in the first floor of the
Oh, nice.
courthouse. Yeah.
So you got the VIP office over there,
That's right. Yeah, I've got
huh?
it. It makes it very hard to work sometime. I'm on that first floor with like a ton of windows in my office, so
Yeah,
it's like you get very
definitely.
distracted watching the yard out there.
I can imagine there's so much traffic out there. So,
Yeah.
what else do you do as a Dentonite here?
Just art wise,
Mm-hmm.
well, I do Dr. Sketchies. Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. That's probably the main thing. I think I went a little wild and got a little too overextended there for a while, so I've been kind of cutting that back. So I would say Public Art Committee and Dr. Sketchies are my major responsibilities in just the local community for sure.
Okay. And what do you do with the public art? What kind of projects do you work on with the public art in the city?
Okay. I'm just a voting member on
Mm-hmm.
there,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a lot of we make recommendations to the council about what projects to do. So we don't necessarily we have a budget and we look at a budget and make those recommendations. But at the end of the day, the council's really who does that. So we're just sort of like a recommendation body to the city council.
Well,
Yeah,
recommend some good stuff for
that's
us.
true. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Okay,
a
put
great
in the good
committee.
word
Yeah.
for the arts. And what about Dr. Sketchies? How did that come about? And for those of us that don't know what it is, I didn't know what it was when I
Right.
first heard of it, obviously, and then I actually went to several of them. So,
Yeah, yeah. So there actually was one here right before I moved here for a little while, and then I think the girl that ran that maybe moved to Dallas, and
mhm,
then yeah. So I didn't actually know that much about it. The lady that started it, her name is she's an artist, a New York-based artist named Molly Crabapple. And she started it in New York just as she got out of school and things like that. And it
mhm,
was kind of like a nightclub, kind of cabaret based art performance.
mhm,
A lot of her stuff was definitely centered around, she worked with a lot of performers and
mhm,
models and wanted to develop a venue where those models and performers were being treated less like props,
mhm,
like a lot of models in art classes and
mhm.
things are, and really set up a platform that there could be more collaboration between artists, visual artists, and performers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we were to go into one of your Dr. Sketchy's classes, what is it like? Tell us where it's at. Tell us what to expect. What is it like when we first walk into your class?
Yeah, sure. So it's at the Greater Denton Arts Council
Mm-hmm.
Patterson
Apple.
Appleton Center, and we do them every third Thursday from
Okay.
6 to 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So we'll have one coming up this Thursday.
Oh, nice.
They're very informal. It's not a. I think a lot of people when they first come in think it's going to be like a class.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a class. It's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like a workshop. I
Mm-hmm.
don't teach there. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
give any advice to anybody. I think it's more giving a space for people who are into illustrative
Mm-hmm.
type art.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people who are into that get kind of left out in the art scene sometime
Mm-hmm.
because it's not again it's not the sexy side of fine art all the
Mm-hmm.
time. You know, painting and
Mm-hmm.
things like that are definitely more readily available and sort of front and center. So sometimes these people that are into comics and illustration and things like that
Yeah.
don't always necessarily have an outward group. So a lot of it is just community building and having a place where those people can come see other people that are working in a similar medium, trade ideas, and just kind of work together and develop friendships for
Well,
sure.
I definitely think that you're right on target with that because when I went to go shoot your class, and I remember walking in thinking it was going to be a classroom setting,
Right.
very formal, very radio turned up a
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
and people were bringing their refreshments.
Mhm.
And when I was observing all of the artists, I mean, everyone has their own style, and it was just a way to bring everybody together and kind of just bind everyone in their own style, like you said, and in that realm of sketching. And I remember thinking, I need to get in here because I'm also an artist
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
I remember feeling like this was really cool. So,
Well, and it's cool too because everybody just kind of brings their own setup. Me, like, I think it's kind of cool to know like what little tools people are
yeah,
using and things like that.
definitely.
And everybody kind of brings their own little setup and
Mhm.
neat little boxes and stuff with their art
Yeah.
tools in them. And so much art, you see the finished product on display
Hmm.
somewhere, and it's sort of like these like creative people go in the shadows, and then they come out with this. I think it's really. It takes a lot of the fear and after making mistakes. You can see people's process. These just perfect finished products at the end of.
Obviously observing everyone and looking for a shot. But one of the things I noticed that people were very in their own. You could see people contemplating what to or how to sketch something.
Sure.
I saw a few of the artists actually get up and move
Right.
angles, and of course, poses
Sure.
for them to get the whole.
Yeah.
So, how long do they typically?
3 hours. I mean, they get there a little early, but the real work session is from about 6 to 9.
That's a long time.
It do about 20-minute sets. We'll do
Hmm.
like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then a break. So again, it's pretty casual, and the models are really like, they're the heroes in there. So I kind of let them interaction. I mean, I
Hmm.
think that's a lot of it is not feeling like these people are under a glass case
Yeah.
up front and like you can't talk to them and stuff. So I do try to kind of encourage that collaboration, and it's a lot of artists when they think about collaborating, it's an artist collaborating with an artist.
Hmm.
And it's not just me personally as an artist. I've learned so much. You're seeing a different process that's going towards the same sort of end.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing there is that it's if I think it opens up there that is
Yeah.
drawing.
I think that's pretty accurate too, because then at that point it becomes a creation
Hmm.
more than just, oh, just something in my book. Forward to the next class, and you're like, what model are they going to have? What theme are they going to have this
Right.
time? So I know a few times that I've been in there, the models have been very personable. They've been very casual. Hey guys, what do y'all want me to do? Or
Right.
do you want me to sit down, stand up? So they've been pretty easygoing. And how do you go about picking your models for those type of classes?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the map. I definitely look for people that are doing something performance based, but that's not the case with everybody. There have been some people that have never done any modeling at
Okay.
all before. The very first one I had at the GDAC was actually one of the roller derby
Oh yeah,
athletes,
nice.
and I reached out to them because they kind of have this persona based. Almost like wrestling kind of identity. They have
Kind
their
of
little like
a
alter
pseudo
egos and
aggression. Yeah.
yeah, and it's there's a level of theater to it, so
Mhm.
not to undercut their athletic ability, but there is
Yes.
a performance angle to a
Yeah.
lot of roller derby, and I think challenging. I try to bring in models that will challenge people's perception of what art is and
Yeah.
open people up that it's not always narrowly defined as maybe as it feels up front.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think when I went in the first time to shoot, I was expecting, like you say, a fine arts
Yeah.
model, and you go in there and there's a roller derby girl in there, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, because then at that point it becomes more tangible in the sense that it feels more at home.
Sure.
So that, I think that's what was really cool to me and what appealed to me, just being an observer at that point,
Hmm.
because I still haven't done the sketching. But as a photographer shooter, I was like really amazed at how cool the themes were. So what kind of themes do you do? What have you done, and what do you look forward to, or what have you not done that you are really
Yeah,
excited
sure.
about?
I usually let the models kind of set that. I don't want to arbitrarily be like, I want to do a theme on this,
Hmm.
because it's really like, I feel like that's an opportunity for them, again, to
To be
be
creative.
expressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I don't want to inject myself into that too much because I feel like the results have been so much better without me dictating anything like that. We've had a couple of people that are cosplayers.
Hmm.
I think that's really interesting, and they're into it like an art. And there's
It's a very
they're
serious.
technicians, in a lot of sense.
Hmm.
I've had some sketchies in other trick. They're
Hmm.
at bars. They're more late night kind of
Hmm.
things. We first started in
Hmm.
Denton. People didn't seem that into it, honestly. Like it's
Okay.
just we're all up on a draw. Like we're not like we're showing up to draw. We're not showing. And it's been interesting to see too. As I think when I started it, I was worried the group would be like my friends who felt sorry for me. But I don't actually know a lot of the people.
Yeah.
I've got to know 'em, showing up and doing it. And there's kind of there are people out there that maybe were underserved by anything else that was
Yeah.
going on that have found a place.
Etch their way into the community in their own little niche, your artistic tribe, and I think that would be great. So if anyone wants to take a class, you're
Thursday.
this Thursday.
I don't know what date that is. Well, it's this Thursday.
Okay,
Yeah.
this Thursday. We'll
Yeah,
make
yeah,
that
yeah.
clear
At
in
six
case we're wrong.
o'clock. And there is a cyclist that's going to be. This is another one of those kind of non-traditional. She's not really a performer, never really done any kind of modeling. But she does. Her and her boyfriend do cycling together, and she had reached out to me to maybe want to do something with her bike, and so I think it's going to be interesting. We haven't had a lot of props in the
Yeah.
past, and I think that it's always nice to bring in something like that because like a bike is such a common thing to see around,
In
but it's
Denton,
also
yes.
super hard to draw. Like I mean, it's one of
Yes.
those things that's not like hands or something. It's not always the most intuitive thing to draw. So I'm really excited to see how that goes for
Yeah,
sure.
I would be too. And I know a lot of times you get focused so much on the model, and when they bring in a prop, it adds a different
Yeah.
dimension to that. So that's going to be fun.
And there's a level of character development because we don't do like traditional life drawing, nude drawing kind of things like you would see in a
Hmm.
class.
Hmm.
It's all costumed,
Hmm.
more thematic, character based. So people get to investigate a little more like expressive
Hmm.
character building and development as artists, which is I feel like you use a lot more
Yeah.
than the foundational just kind of drawing a static object.
Okay, so this coming Thursday, and that's going to be at the Greater Denton Arts Council.
Mhm.
And just so you know, it's tucked in the very back part of the building because I know you
Right.
walk in and it's like, oh my gosh, this is a huge place. But it is in the back part just to let people know because,
And where they're doing construction, I think you actually have to enter from the Hickory Street
okay,
side now. They usually have signs on the door telling you, but if it looks like it's totally closed down, just look for another door. you
okay.
know. But they're kind of
Yeah, they're
rearranging everything
renovating
over
and
there. Yeah.
whatnot. So, if anyone wanted to connect with you on social media for Dr. Sketchies or
Hmm.
your comics or anything like that, would there
Oh,
be any
sure.
kind of links or any kind of social
Probably,
media
probably
stuff?
the easiest way to find me and all of my links to make sure that you find the right one is just to go to my website.
Okay.
It's joeduncanisnotimportant.com, and that has links to all of my Facebook and stuff like that.
Okay.
The Dr. Sketchies page is just the facebook.com/Dr. Sketchies Denton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That is easy enough. And I'm sure if we typed in any combo of that, it would
it'll
probably
pop
pop
up.
up
Yeah,
too. So, Joe, thank you so much for being a guest on our show
definitely. Thank
today
you for
on the
having me.
Denton Vibe, of course. And thank you for being our first guest here
Yeah,
today at DentonRadio.com. I am always happy to join in one of your classes and hopefully be sketching soon
yeah,
at Dr.
definitely.
Sketchy. So, thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today at DentonRadio.com with the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie. Thank you.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.